Hello everyone and welcome to my General Hospital Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Ava says these 6 words to Kristina following Rick's tragedy. According to General Hospital spoilers, Ava Jerome may say 6 furious words to Kristina Corinthos Davis following Rick Lansing's tragic death. Kristina is to blame for Rick's injuries and struggle to survive, so Ava may figure it out. During the week of March 31st to April 4th, Ava will receive updates about Rick's vehicle accident and worry about his fate. Rick and Ava have been exploring a romance, so she may be startled by how emotional she becomes when this tragic news arrives. Later, according to GH spoilers, Ava will obtain some astounding intelligence. There will be some information that Ava discovers, and it sounds like it could give her a surprising new perspective on the case. It is possible that the intel will be related to Rick's vehicle's brakes, which were accidentally severed. The cops should discover out Rick's automobile was sabotaged, which will undoubtedly cause some twists and turns in the inquiry. Ava should have no trouble recalling her confrontation with Kristina at her building shortly before Rick's crash. Ava may also recall Rick parking in her space and concluding that Kristina attempted to erase her off the map. Will Ava confront Kristina about her car tampering and make some accusations? Kristina may say these 6 furious words to Kristina. You're going to prison for this. Once this fresh information points to Kristina, she may be at Ava's mercy. Ava may want Kristina to pay for what she did to Rick and Elizabeth Baldwin, as she will also be hurt in the crash. Nonetheless, Kristina may resort to begging Ava to keep quiet. Perhaps Kristina will reach an agreement with Ava in exchange for her silence. Ava may have some blackmail material if she chooses to keep her information from Kristina. Kristina may dread going to prison if she does not participate, forcing her to make a hazardous deal with Ava. Regardless, Ava is going to receive some shocking information, so she may make predictions about Kristina's future in prison if she does not do as she is told. Nina dropped over Ava's house to thank her for getting her in touch with Portia. She was confident that the two of them could handle their little Drew problem. Nina realized that Ava was rushing. Ava informed her that she needed to get Avery over to Sunny's apartment and did not want to be late. Nina found it weird that Ava cared about being punctual for a man who clearly hates you. Ava dismissed Nina's comment, saying she only wanted things to stay civil, so that Avery could see her parents getting along. In fact, Sunny and I had a rather illuminating conversation recently. I'm seeing Sunny with fresh eyes now, Ava said me with a grin. Diane was startled when she stepped into her shared office with Alexis and saw her lying on the floor with her eyes closed. Diane was relieved when Alexis explained that she was merely meditating. Alexis revealed she had called Rick over to seek a truce, but she needed to meditate before she could face the meeting. Do I have time to make popcorn before he gets here? Diane inquired sincerely. When Rick arrived, his first words were, Alexis, I owe you an apology. This unexpected move confused Alexis, but Rick persisted. We have had a long and very difficult history. We're always going to have significant differences between the two of us on just about everything, but I realize that baiting you into one pointless argument after another is not only unfair to you, it's unfair to our daughter. Rick acknowledged that Cody, of all people, helped him see his mistakes. I accept your apology, Alexis said. And I accept yours, Rick responded. Alexis reminded out that she hadn't given one, but Rick knew she would and should. Diane ensured that the two stayed cordial to one another while Alexis groaned and welcomed a ceasefire. When Molly stepped in and saw her parents in the same room, she was anxious, but Rick and Alexis convinced her that everything was great and that they had agreed to a truce. When Kristina opened the door to Sunny's residence, she was surprised to see Molly there. She wanted her sister back and stated that losing Sam made her realize she needed Kristina in her life. Kristina didn't believe they could quickly return to their previous situation, so Molly recommended taking gradual steps. Perhaps they might even have a movie night with Alexis? Kristina smiled at the notion, and the sisters hugged just before Ava and Avery arrived. Ava made sure to bring up the situation with Sunny. Kristina said it was none of her business, but Ava insisted otherwise. Actually, it is. If Sunny isn't well enough to take care of our daughter, then I should. Full-time, she informed me. When Ava arrived home, she discovered Rick in her apartment and confronted him for parking in her place. He asserted that all of the other spots were taken. Rick stated that he was in too good a mood to dispute following his beautiful and tranquil discussion with Alexis. The last thing I expected happened. Alexis and I made peace. It's a whole new era for me and the Davis clan, he said with pride. Right on cue, Kristina began beating on the door, demanding that Ava open up to finish this now. Rick and Ava could only roll their eyes. Felicia put on her patient advocate hat and asked Sasha if she wanted to include Jason's information in her medical file. I appreciate you checking in, but even if everyone knows who my baby's father is, that doesn't mean I want him involved, she stated. Felicia then inquired whether Sasha planned to include Jason's name on the baby's birth certificate. Sasha said she hadn't given it much thought, but Felicia encouraged her to settle any legal concerns before the baby was born. Jason was enraged at Sunny's office when he found out that Ava had kept Sunny's cardiac medications hidden from him. Sunny still chastised himself for letting Ava get to him. Jason encouraged Sunny not to postpone the surgery, but he refused. He couldn't do it until he determined who had hidden the incendiary device in his office. Like clockwork, Brick strolled in and said he had a lead on the person who almost burned Michael to death. Brick said he discovered the man Valentine had named was a former intelligence agent who was currently in Toronto. I can get the plane fueled and be in Toronto in an hour, Jason said. Brick informed Jason that the man was extremely dangerous, but Sunny convinced Brick that he was much more deadly. Jason was taken aback when Sunny stated his plan to accompany Jason on this trip. Jason attempted to persuade Sunny out of the idea. What if you have an attack and the pills don't work? Jason asked. Sunny had to consider that one. Sunny reasoned that taking down the man who ignited the fire would relieve stress. Jason explained that they were only searching for the middlemen. They couldn't take him out because they needed to find out who hired him. Jason eventually consented to let Sunny tag along. As they prepared to leave, Jason ignored Sasha's message, which stated that she wanted to chat about the baby. Sunny vowed to find whoever was after his family. The camera then panned to a photograph of Michael and Morgan. Jordan and Isaiah returned to her condo from a 5-mile recreational hike. Isaiah stated that this was not his intention when they agreed to meet in secret. Isaiah could tell Jordan was distracted by something. She ultimately stated that Councilman Boyle had advised her to remove herself from Laura due to Laura's closeness with Sunny. She also told Isaiah that Boyle had urged she take advantage of their closeness to become mayor herself. Isaiah thought such idea was shady. The thing that bugs me the most about this is I agree with him, Jordan stated, alluding to Laura's friendship with Sunny rather than backstabbing Laura. Jordan was frustrated that Laura had not agreed to relocate the Esplanade project to Pier 55. I'm starting to realize that Laura will never see Sunny as the civic danger that he is, Jordan told me. Isaiah, who had become fond of Sunny, admitted that while Sunny was a crook, he did a lot of good with his money. There was a sudden knock on the door. Brick was there and he even brought flowers. Jordan requested Isaiah not to tell anyone that she was dating him. Brick agreed, but with a warning to Isaiah. By the way, I've heard some questionable things about your family. I hope for your sake you're not a part of that, Mr. Brick stated. Outside Charlie's, Elizabeth called Lucas and informed him that Rick had confirmed that whatever Portia did was wrong. After hanging up, she walked into the tavern, only to discover Lucky preparing a romantic lunch for two. Elizabeth could not believe how delicious the chicken parmesan tasted. Lucky astonished her by saying it was from Lorenzo's, a New York City Italian restaurant they had previously visited. What do you say? Let me take you back to New York, Lucky remarked, suggesting they go for the weekend. That prompted Elizabeth to remember about Lucky and Liz's high school trip to New York. We even received all of the expected old 1990s flashbacks. I had the time of my life, Liz stated. Lucky shocked Liz by informing her that he had reserved a room in the hotel where they had previously stayed. Liz had to depart for work, so Lucky prodded her for an answer. You knew the answer before you even asked. And this time, neither of us will have to sleep on the floor, she told me. When Chase observed Brooklyn working in the solarium, she explained that she had a lot of work to do because Lulu had quit. She then told Chase that his visit to Laura's flat was the reason Lulu chose jobless. Chase was immediately irritated that Lulu had told Brooklyn what had occurred. It doesn't matter that it's none of her business. It doesn't matter that her blabbing could upend your entire life. Lulu's just gotta say it and that's all that matters, Chase informed him. That is her way, Brooklyn explained. Brooklyn appreciated Chase's defense of her honor, but threatening to arrest Lulu was out of character. Just because I don't show that side of me very often doesn't mean it's not there. Brooklyn, I will do whatever it takes to keep your secret safe, Chase said to his loving wife. Brooklyn understood how difficult this was for Chase, but he was proud of it all. It's not your fault, it's not even a fault thing, Chase told me. You had a baby with my best friend. And knowing that is just something I'd have to get used to. I just never expected it. As Sonny lay in anguish on the floor of his living room, Ava stood over him, tormenting him. What is it, Sonny? What's wrong? Should I call 911? She said in a false pleasant tone. She then became furious. Isn't it awful to be in need when no one will help you? It's terrible, isn't it? Knowing that someone could act and do one little thing, but instead they stand there enjoying your pain, she said. Kristina was shocked when she entered the room and discovered Sonny on the floor, fumbling for his medication bottle. Ava made excuses for herself and claimed she was going to help Sonny, but Kristina refused to listen. She promptly administered Sonny's prescription and told Ava to go. Kristina attempted to call an ambulance and Ava did exactly that. Sonny stopped her because he did not want anyone to know what had transpired. He admitted to Kristina that he let Ava get to him and pursued her despite knowing better. And Ava just stood there the whole time? Kristina inquired. Sonny nodded just as Isaiah approached to examine him. Kristina remained concerned despite Isaiah's assessment that Sonny did not require hospitalization. After Kristina left, Isaiah informed Sonny that the procedure couldn't take much longer, and that he would arrange it immediately soon. Sonny asked him not to. He was willing to have the surgery sooner, but only if he could resolve his security concerns first. As Isaiah opened the door to depart, he discovered Laura standing there. Laura quickly recognized that something was amiss, so Sonny revealed the truth. He had a heart issue. Sonny told Laura the specifics, but he insisted on postponing the surgery. Sonny chastised himself for what happened and realized he couldn't control his rage toward Ava. Kristina went immediately to the grave and told the infant she called Adela about what had happened to Sonny. By not helping him, she was killing him just like she killed you, Kristina reasoned, alluding to Ava. Kristina continued her scream until she realized she needed to hold Ava accountable for what she had done. She concluded that Ava posed a threat. I have to stop her, Kristina finally said. Laura and Jordan had a supper at the Port Charles Grill before her visit with Sonny, during which they discussed Councilman Ezra Boyle. Laura complained that Boyle never avoided cameras, but she was concerned that Drew would be dissatisfied with the coverage of the hospital occasion. Boyle entered on cue and sat down with the mayor and deputy mayor. He wanted to discuss the delays in the Esplanade project. Laura wouldn't let him avoid the environmental impact report. Boyle wanted to relocate the project to Pier 55, which Laura and Jordan argued was not a viable choice. Boyle suggested that Laura's connection with Sonny was the reason the Esplanade did not relocate. I am advising you to reconsider your position rather than ignore all the family ties to the local crime lord, he told you. Laura explained that she was not concerned because she had nothing to hide. Laura went, but Jordan elected to stay behind and speak with Boyle alone. She told him that any attempt to smear Laura will blow up in your face. Boyle also warned Jordan that Laura's association with Sonny could backfire on her. Jordan's next stop was Curtis' office, where she expressed gratitude for the nice images and coverage of the sports project. Who wouldn't rather look at pictures of you and Portia instead of some crooked competition? Curtis asked. Jordan was especially struck by Curtis' choice of the moniker Kane. They didn't observe Rick and Ava enter and sit at a table. Ava couldn't wait to tell Rick about her rendezvous with Sonny. While I was there, Sonny collapsed at my feet, she added. Rick was stunned. You heard me. There's something wrong with Sonny, she said. Rick, Sonny's brother, was able to learn that Sonny had not been admitted to hospital. Ava related the event with Sonny, but emphasized that she had intended to assist him until Kristina began screaming at her. Ava was certain that something was badly wrong, and they could use this knowledge to gain pressure against Sonny. Brooklyn and Lulu continued to argue in the deception office, with Brooklyn blaming Lulu of being resentful and threatened, by Brooklyn's previous relationship with Dante. You thought that you and Dante told each other everything. Turns out Dante has some past secrets of his own. He kept our past a secret from you and you can't stand it, Brooklyn told me. Lulu explained that what made her angry was the fact that she now had to lie for Brooklyn. Every time Dante looks at me and tells me how happy he is that I have Charlotte back, I choke on the knowledge that he has a son he knows nothing about, she said. When Emma and Gio came, Lulu left, relieved that Brooklyn was no longer her boss. They told Brooklyn about their plan to save the crypt and requested her to propose it to the Q family. They were astonished when Brooklyn rejected, telling them not to pursue their plan. Brooklyn feared they would become too engaged in Drew and Tracy's never-ending dispute. You two aren't hardcore QS. You can walk away. Do it. Walk away while you still can, she was telling them. In the end, she agreed to speak with Ned about Emma and Joe's suggestion. Outside Brooklyn's office, Gio and Emma opted to speak with Monica about the property before anyone else. Cody was astonished to hear screaming from the Q boathouse. When he opened the door, Lulu was standing there, beating up a floatie with a plastic bat. Lulu stated she was there to see Rocco but needed to let off steam first. She told Cody that she was angry because she had no idea Brooklyn and Dante were dating. Cody didn't consider it a big issue because nothing came of it. Lulu noted that something significant resulted from it. Brooklyn revealed that she was angry because Dante lied to her about never having affections for her. Curtis met with Tracy and Stella in the Q solarium prior to Jordan's visit. Stella believed that Curtis and Tracy should get to know one another because of their common cause. Tracy just got a phone call notifying her that Drew had arrived. She welcomed him in with glee. When Drew went in and saw Curtis, he said, "Of course. You've teamed up with Tracy." Drew, as usual, was upset with Curtis for referring to him as Drew Kane in the Aurora story rather than Drew Quartermain. Tracy claimed that was his name, but Drew argued that the cease and desist order would never be upheld in court. Curtis said that it was legitimate when the piece was printed, thus he could print the name Kane. Curtis mentioned that the initiative was generating good press. "Isn't that what this is about, Congressman Kane, not your ego?" Curtis inquired as Tracy smirked. "Ditch the halo, Curtis, you want to get ugly?" "You got it," Drew muttered as he walked away. Once he was gone, the women and Curtis raised their teacups to a wonderful friendship. When the ladies were alone, they could only chuckle at Drew's visit. Drew ended up at the Port Charles Grill with Boyle. Drew had some demands for Boyle. He wanted him to utilize his public works connections to bulldoze his family crypt as soon as possible. General Hospital has never shied away from emotional, gut-wrenching moments, and one of the most poignant scenes in recent memory was when Ava Jerome, played by Maura West, uttered just 6 simple, yet devastating words to Kristina Corinthos Davis Lexi Ainsworth, in the aftermath of Rick Lansing's, Rick Hurst, tragic demise. This moment was not just a turning point for both characters, but also a reflection of the deep, tangled relationships that define General Hospital. In this analysis, we'll break down the significance of those 6 words, the emotional weight they carried, and how they impacted Kristina, Ava, and the larger GH narrative. The context: Rick Lansing's tragic end. Before diving into Ava's 6-word statement, it's crucial to understand the circumstances that led to this moment. Rick Lansing, a character with a complicated legacy in Port Charles, met a tragic end, whether through murder, an accident, or a shocking twist, depending on the storyline. His death sent shockwaves through the lives of those closest to him, particularly Kristina, who had a deeply conflicted relationship with him. Rick was Kristina's stepfather during his marriage to her mother, Alexis Davis, Nancy Lee Grahn. Their dynamic was fraught with tension, manipulation, and occasional moments of genuine care. For Ava, Rick was an ex-lover, a co-conspirator, and at times an enemy. Their histories were messy, making Ava's words to Kristina all the more loaded. The scene: Ava's 6 words to Kristina. In the aftermath of Rick's death, Kristina is reeling, grieving, angry, and searching for answers. Ava, who has her own complicated feelings about Rick, approaches her. The tension is palpable. Then, Ava delivers the 6 words that stop Kristina, and the audience cold. "I know what he did to you." These words are a gut punch. They suggest that Ava is aware of a dark secret, something Rick did to Kristina that may have been buried for years. The implications are vast. Was it emotional abuse? Betrayal? Or something even worse? Breaking down the meaning. Validation for Kristina. If Rick had harmed Kristina in some way, whether through manipulation, neglect, or abuse, Ava's acknowledgement validates Kristina's pain. Many survivors of trauma struggle with feeling unheard, and Ava's words could be the first time Kristina feels seen. Ava's own guilt or complicity. Ava's phrasing suggests she knew but didn't act. Did she enable Rick? Was she a bystander? This adds layers to her character: remorse, guilt, or even a twisted sense of responsibility. A shift in their relationship. Up until this point, Ava and Kristina's interactions may have been adversarial or distant. But this moment forces them into an uneasy alliance, united by their shared history with Rick. The power of unspoken trauma. The fact that Ava doesn't elaborate leaves room for interpretation. GH often tackles heavy themes like abuse and recovery, and this subtle approach makes the moment even more haunting. The aftermath. How this affects Kristina. Kristina's reaction is key. Does she break down? Does she deny it? Does she demand answers from Ava? Depending on the writing, this could lead to a breakdown or breakthrough. Kristina might finally confront her trauma, leading to therapy, a confrontation with Alexis, or a new storyline about healing. A vow for justice. If Rick's actions were criminal, Kristina might seek posthumous justice, unearthing more secrets. A new dynamic with Ava. Could this lead to an unlikely friendship? Or will Kristina resent Ava for knowing and not speaking up sooner? Why this moment resonates. Realistic portrayal of trauma. GH has a history of tackling difficult topics with nuance. This moment mirrors real-life situations where survivors meet someone who knew about their suffering but stayed silent. Maura West's stellar performance. Kristina Corinthos Davis had spent the past few weeks feeling uneasy. It wasn't just the usual family drama that came with being a Corinthos, nor was it the weight of her past mistakes catching up with her. No, this was different. It was Ava Jerome. Ava had always been a force to be reckoned with. Manipulative, cunning, and fiercely independent, she was a woman who didn't let anything stand in her way. Over the years, Kristina had watched Ava weave her way in and out of trouble, playing the game of deception with skill. But this time, Kristina felt something was off. This time, she knew Ava was up to something more dangerous than before. The problem was Kristina couldn't prove it. Not yet. But the pieces of the puzzle were starting to fit together, and she was determined to stop Ava before it was too late. The beginning of suspicion. Kristina had always tried to stay out of her father's business dealings. Sonny Corinthos, the powerful mob boss of Port Charles, had spent years trying to keep his daughter away from the dark world he lived in. But no matter how much she tried to distance herself, trouble always seemed to find its way back to her doorstep. She had first noticed Ava acting strangely when she overheard a hushed phone conversation at the Metro Court. Ava was speaking in low tones, her voice carrying a sense of urgency that sent chills down Kristina's spine. "We have to move quickly," Ava had said. "I don't care what it takes." Kristina had wanted to believe it was just another one of Ava's shady deals, nothing more than her usual business maneuvers. But something about her tone, the tension in her body language, told Kristina that this was different. Digging deeper. Determined to uncover the truth, Kristina started paying closer attention to Ava's movements. She watched as Ava made secretive calls, met with people in dark corners of town, and carried herself with an edge of paranoia that hadn't been there before. Whatever she was planning, Ava was being careful, but not careful enough to escape Kristina's notice. It wasn't long before Kristina stumbled upon a major clue. She had gone to Charlie's pub late one evening, hoping to clear her head with a drink. Instead, she found Ava sitting in a booth with a man Kristina didn't recognize. They were deep in conversation, but as Kristina crept closer, she managed to pick up a few key words. Eliminate the problem before it gets out of hand. Kristina's stomach twisted. Who was the problem? What was Ava planning? The more she thought about it, the more she realized that she couldn't sit back and do nothing. If Ava was plotting something dangerous, Kristina had to stop her. Confrontation. Kristina knew she couldn't go to her father just yet. Sonny had enough to deal with, and if she went to him without solid proof, he might dismiss her concerns as paranoia. She needed to confront Ava herself. The opportunity presented itself sooner than she expected. One evening, Kristina found Ava alone at the gallery, poring over some documents. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside and shut the door behind her. "Ava," she said, her voice steady but firm. "We need to talk." Ava looked up, her expression unreadable. "Kristina. What a surprise. What can I do for you?" Kristina crossed her arms. "Cut the act. I know you're up to something. I heard you at Charlie's. Eliminate the problem before it gets out of hand?" "What does that mean?" Ava's eyes flickered with something. Annoyance? Amusement? It was hard to tell. "Eavesdropping now? That's not very polite." "Don't play games with me, Ava," Kristina snapped. "I know you. I know when you're planning something. And whatever it is, I have a feeling it's bad news." For a moment Ava said nothing. Then slowly, she leaned back in her chair, studying Kristina with an unreadable expression. "You've always been more perceptive than people give you credit for," she admitted. "But you don't know everything." Kristina took a step forward. "Then tell me, what are you planning? Who are you trying to hurt?" Ava sighed, standing up. "Kristina, you don't want to get involved in this." Kristina clenched her fists. "I already am." A dangerous choice. Ava walked over to a nearby painting, adjusting it as if contemplating how much to tell. "If I say too much, you'll wish you never asked." Kristina wasn't backing down. "Try me." Ava turned back to face her. "Let's just say there are people in this town who have crossed the wrong line. And some things can't be forgiven." Kristina swallowed hard. "That's not an answer." Ava tilted her head. "It's the only one you're getting." Kristina's frustration boiled over. "Ava, if you're planning something that could hurt someone, I will stop you." Ava smirked, but there was something dark in her eyes. "Be careful, Kristina. You might not like what you find." Kristina knew then that she had no choice. She had to get to the bottom of Ava's plan, before it was too late. In a world where danger lurks around every corner and loyalty is tested at every turn, sometimes the only option is to run. For Sunny and Jason, two men bound by friendship and a shared history of violence, the decision to skip town was not made lightly. It was a desperate, last-ditch effort to protect the people they loved, Sunny's family. This is the story of their harrowing escape, the forces that drove them to flee, and the sacrifices they made along the way. The catalyst, a threat too great to ignore. Every action has a trigger, and for Sunny and Jason it was an imminent, inescapable danger. Whether it was a rival gang, a vengeful enemy, or a law enforcement crackdown, the threat was severe enough to force their hand. Staying meant certain destruction, not just for them but for Sunny's wife, children, and anyone else caught in the crossfire. The warning may have come in the form of a whispered tip, a blood-stained note, or a near-fatal ambush. Whatever the case, the message was clear: run or die. The decision to flee, leaving everything behind, is never easy. For Sunny it meant abandoning his home, his business, and the life he had built. For Jason it meant putting his own freedom, and possibly his life, on the line for the sake of his best friend's family. But loyalty runs deep between these two men. Jason, ever the protector, would never let Sunny face this alone. And Sunny, despite his pride, knew he couldn't win this fight without help. Together they made the only choice they could. They vanished into the night. The escape, a race against time. Skipping town isn't as simple as packing a bag and driving away. Enemies have eyes everywhere, and law enforcement could be hunting them down. Every step had to be calculated. False trails, they might have planted misleading clues. A fake sighting in one city, a discarded item in another, to throw pursuers off their scent. Underground networks. Contacts in the criminal underworld could have provided safe passage, new identities, or untraceable transportation. Brute force. If cornered, they wouldn't hesitate to fight their way out. Bullets might fly, and blood might spill before they found safety. The toll on Sunny's family. While Sunny and Jason were on the run, those left behind faced their own nightmares. Fear and uncertainty. Sunny's wife and children wouldn't know if he was alive or dead. Every knock on the door could be an enemy, or worse, news of his demise. Retaliation. If their enemies couldn't reach Sunny, they might target his family instead. Safe houses, police protection, or even going into hiding themselves might be necessary.